Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajim. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Welcome once again to IslamiCity series on Quranic values for strong character building. We are with Dr. Ahmadullah Siddiqi, but before we go to him, let us recite the verse so that we make a theme verse of this whole series. Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajim. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Alif Lam Mim. Dhalikal kitabu la rayba fi. هدى للمتقين الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة مما رزقناهم ينفقون. That this is a book in which there is no doubt, there is no skepticism. It is a guidance for those who want to be guided and who believe in the divine guidance, who are steadfast in their prayers, and who are willing to open up and give whatever they have in the cause of the understanding of the divine guidance. We have with us Dr. Ahmadullah Siddiqi, who is joining us from Chicago. And he's been a professor of media studies for almost 30 years. He has been a physicist, and he has also been an activist for Islam and for Muslim. He is involved in a number of charitable organizations, and the most important thing is that he is an ardent student of the Quran, and he is basically made it a mission to understand and make his understanding known to others and make it a part of his life. So today we would all request him to reflect on a few more verses of the Quran that he has chosen. Welcome back once again, Dr. Ahmadullah Siddiqi, to the series of IslamiCity, and thank you very much for sparing your time and being part of this discussion.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulihil Kareem. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, Dr. Aslam Abdullah, and again, thank you to IslamiCity for providing all of us this opportunity to spend some time reflecting upon some of the important verses of Quran. Today, I have selected 3 verses, all from the 2nd chapter, Surah Al-Baqarah, verse number 188, that tells us to not engaging in bribery. Verse number 275, that says don't consume interest. And verse number 280, that asks us that if you give a loan to someone and if that person is in difficulty paying back, then you should be easy with that person and you should grant that person some more time. So, as you may have already inferred, that the focus of today's reflection is on wealth. Because obviously wealth plays an important role. We all work to acquire more money. We do various kinds of job to get our earning and to have a good life. Quranic concept of wealth is that it is an amana. It is something that God gives to people and then guides them how they can spend the wealth that is given by God. Where they should spend and where they should not spend. How should they spend and how they should not spend. And that's why in Quran, wherever God says that you spend in the way of Allah, God also says, Mimma razaqnakum. You should not forget that the wealth that you possess is given to you by God Himself. So this is a very basic understanding, because sometimes we forget, oh, this is my money. Yeah, indeed, it is your money as long as it is in your possession. But who gave you this money? God. And the same God can put you in a situation where you may lose this money. Even if you may be a millionaire or a billionaire and you end up having no money. I'm not kidding. There have been people who have millions and millions who have been millionaires, even billionaires, and in a matter of time, they found themselves penniless, almost penniless. So today, the first verse that I want to focus is verse number 275 from Surah Al-Baqarah. الذين يأكلون الربا لا يقومون إلا كما يقوم الذي يتخبطه شيطان من المس ذلك بأنهم قالوا إنما البيع مثل الربا وأحل الله البيع وحرم الربا فمن جاءه موعظة من ربه فانتهى فله ما سلف وأمره إلى الله ومن عاد فأولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون. Those who take and eat interest money or usury will not stand on the day of judgment except as a person whom Shaitan has driven to madness. Because these are the people who equate business, trading with usury, with riba, with interest. Although God has made business permissible and has forbidden usury. Whosoever stops dealing with riba or interest after this advice that is coming from God, he or she will not be punished for his or her previous involvement. And God will judge his or her case. And whoever returns to taking usury, these people will be the resident of hellfire. And they will reside there forever. So we have to understand, first, we are reflecting upon values. So in what sense I have selected this ayah? In the sense that exploitation of those who have less money or who are poor by those who have more money or who are rich is a negative value that hurts the society. Even though both of these people, they are servants of God. To one, God has given more money and made that person rich. And to the other, God made that person needy, in need. And God then instructs to the one who has money that your job is that, yes, you live happily, use money judiciously, but at the same time, reach out to the people who don't have money. If instead of this, you use your being rich to exploit to the people who are poor, then God says that then you are condemned. This is not acceptable. And the entire monetary system of the world is based on this concept of taking interest by those who are rich, super rich, whether that is a person or a group or a bank or a hedge fund or a World Bank or an International Monetary Fund. So this creates a system of exploitation where we are taking advantage of a person who needs money but does not have money. Then we give that person money and ask that person to pay back that money many times more. So that is what God is forbidding us from doing that. And I know that we live in a society, in a culture where we don't think about this, because the entire financial system is based on interest. We buy houses, cars, and sometimes we don't have any choice. When we say that we don't have any choice, for some people, this may be a fallacy, because there are no situations in which a person does not have a choice. And I know thousands and thousands of people who make a choice that no matter what, if they don't have the money to buy a house, they will not buy a house on mortgage. On the other hand, there are people who make a decision that they have no choice, and buying a house is their basic necessity, and they are living in a non-Muslim country. So even though they would have preferred to buy a house or a car without paying the interest on it, but since that option is not available, and there are not that many interest-free lending agencies, so they will go ahead and buy. Now, we know that there are scholarly opinions on this issue. For example, the Islamic Fiqh Council of North America have an opinion that since we don't live in an Islamic country and we have no other choice but go to the bank and fulfill our basic needs by borrowing money, even though that money may be borrowed on interest. So with ikrah, this is permissible. And I'm saying this that a person can accept this opinion given by scholars, and a person can reject this opinion. Both are, according to me, both are making a decision based on their understanding of their faith, their situation, and their circumstances. But that is a situation. But the other situation that is totally unacceptable, that you have hundreds and thousands of dollars, sometimes millions of dollars, and you put it in interest-bearing account in businesses and trades and stocks for the sole purpose of getting interest. I think, in my opinion, that's what has been condemned in this verse. You may disagree with me, but that's my opinion. Because I know people. I have built a mosque in my university town, and I went to the richest Muslim in that town, asking him a loan to the mosque because we had to pay the builder whose deadline was coming, with a promissory note that this loan will be paid to him in 3 to 6 months. And he asked me, what about the interest that I get on this money while it is in the bank? I said, well, the masjid cannot pay you the interest. And he said, then I cannot give you this money. So I think that is wrong. That's wrong understanding of Islam. Because some people argue, okay, when you are in business, you invest $100 to get 150, sometime 200, sometime 110. But also, you know that you can get 90 or 80 also. There's this concept of loss also. So that's what God has said in this verse, that there are people, God has made business permissible, halal, and usually haram. Interest is that, and then there are people who pay loans to other people, just like a cash shop where you go and give your title and get a loan at high interest. I know Muslims who do the same thing. Because they have money, they loan people at a high interest. They go to a notary public and they make another Muslim or another person sign that you will pay 14%, 10% interest. I think that's what this ayah is talking about. Because there is a chapter in Quran. Its title is The Hypocrites, Surah Al-Munafiqun. And in the closing verses of this chapter, God says, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu, la tulhikum amwalukum wala auladukum an zikrillah, wa man yaf'al dhalika fa ulaika humul khasirun. O believers, your wealth that God has given you, your children should not deviate you, take you away from remembering that God is watching you on zikrillah. And if you do that, you are a loser. You may be a millionaire, but you are a loser on the day of judgment. You may be a loser in this world as well. And God says that. Don't be under this illusion that by taking interest, you can increase your money. Yamhaqullahu riba wa yurbis sadaqat. Allah decreases and destroys the money of interest. You may not feel, you may not realize, but you are spending that money somewhere else. And Allah says He increases the charity that you give. The charity does not decrease your money. So this is one thing. The other verse from 2:188, وَلَا تَأْكُلُوا أَمْوَالُكُمْ بَيْنَكُمْ بِالْبَاطِلِ وَتُدْلُوا بِهَا إِلَى الْحُكَّامِ لِتَأْكُلُوا فَرِيقًا مِّنْ أَمْوَالِ النَّاسِ بِالْإِثْمِ وَأَنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. And do not eat up your wealth among yourselves in a wrongful and unjust way. And do not give bribe to the judges, so that you may sinfully and knowingly eat up others' properties and wealth. And this has also become very common in Muslim societies. In the matter of inheritance, you have been made a trustee of an orphan. You have been made a supervisor of certain waqf property. And you are exploiting that position of authority to use that wealth in a wrongful way. Because that person who is still a child, of whom you are a custodian, he or she does not know that you have money, and you think that you are smart and you can alter the papers, the will or whatever, or you can alter the things in the inheritance, or you are in a court of law and you can bribe the judges. When I was in India, I thought that you can bribe only a Hindu judge, a non-Muslim judge. But in a case where judge was a Muslim and his clerk told me that if you want the date of your hearing to be fixed, you have to pay a bribe to the judge. So I was stunned because I have seen that judge to go and offer Jummah prayer and then come and sit on that chair. And then in front of that judge, everybody takes an oath. I will say everything, but I will not lie. I will speak truth. How that judge can speak lie when he has taken bribe? And if I don't give bribe, my date will be pushed on and on and on. Or you are a client and you bribe a judge in a way so that the decision can be in your favor. And the last ayah is also related to wealth. You gave a loan to a certain person, and yes, a date has been fixed that for repaying of the loan, the person is unable to pay. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that be easy on that person. Give that person some time. Be generous. Be generous. So to conclude, I will say that the value that we learned from today's reflection on these verses is number one, wealth is a God-given thing. And God is fully capable of taking this wealth without any advance notice. So while this wealth is with us, we should not exploit our advantage by using this wealth either to bribing people, or if we are custodian of certain property, whether it is a waqf property, whether we are custodian of a minor child, in any way. And charity is the greatest value. And in the month of Ramadan, I will underline this value because we have plenty of opportunities to be charitable. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Thank you very much, Dr. Siddiqi, for this wonderful explanation of the use of wealth and touching upon the idea of the usury. In fact, the entire world is, imprisoned by this usury system. And certainly, I'm not going to raise the issues about how do we define it and what should we do in this kind of situation. But there is one specific issue that I want to bring to your attention so that you can reflect on that. According to a study that has been done by various Muslim economists, and I'm sure that you know your uncle, who is a famous Islamic economist, Dr. Najatullah Siddiqi, who has written extensively on Islamic banking, has also touched upon that, is that a number of Muslims have interest-bearing accounts, or even if they don't want to have interest-bearing account, they get interest from the investments and from the money that they put in bank. They do not take that money out. And according to the laws of various countries, now the United States has that laws, and various other countries have that laws, that after, if that money is not recovered within 5 years or 10 years, that money would go to the state, and then a state can use it the way it wants to use it. Sometimes it ends up in those hands that are not usually following good morals and good, decent practices. In that situation, Jamiatul Azhar, the Deoband Seminary, the South African Fatwa Council have all come up with the opinion that Muslims can withdraw that amount of money from the bank, that interest, and they should spend it on welfare and philanthropic causes, as long as they do not seek a reward from Allah for that amount of money. So what do you think and say about that kind of situation that Muslims face, that have interest-bearing account, they get interest, yet they do not withdraw that amount of money? Should they withdraw, and should they use it for charitable causes, or should they let the bank give it to the state who can use it the way they want to use it?
Thank you very much. Well, I mean, in the face of fatwas from Al-Azhar and Deoband and the Darul Uloom in South Africa, I don't dare to be presenting my opinion, because I am not a jurist, I am not a mufti in the traditional sense of the word. But it is very interesting that just last week, somebody came to me and asked me this question, that I have a lot of money, interest money in my bank account. I don't consume interest. And now my bank has told that if you don't withdraw it, this will go away from your account. So what should I do? So I told him that, look, I am not a mufti. So if you want a fiqhi opinion, go to a scholar who gives fatwa. So I don't give fatwa. But whatever humble knowledge of Islam I have, whatever little knowledge of Islam I have, my sense of wisdom says that you withdraw this money, don't use it, take it. I directed him towards a community that's a Muslim community, a Muslim Islamic center in the south side of Chicago, where I know that most of the people who come to that Islamic center don't eat 2 meals a day. Eid and Eidul Adha comes and goes, and they don't make any good clothes. So I said, you go, this is the name of the Imam, and give this money to him. And tell him you don't want any receipt. And tell him, ask him that he prays to Allah that Allah will forgive you, and Allah can give you reward also, because you, at least you made a good intention that you are not using that money. No mufti can decrease a reward. So my humble opinion in this regard is this, that, I mean, don't leave that money in the bank. You don't want that money to go to fund the state of Israel. You don't want that money to go to in giving a grant to a casino. You don't know, because if on the average 5,000 rupees are left by 3 million Muslims or 1 million Muslims, that's quite a big amount of money. So why do we let that money go to spending items that we are not sure about whether they are even halal? The best way would be to withdraw that money, and as you said, without without seeking any reward and seeking forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just give it to someone in a way that you give from right hand and your left hand doesn't know.
You touched upon that point, because the fatwa also explains that the intention of not using that interest money for your own purposes is itself a noble cause, a noble action, and that would be rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Directly or indirectly, you would definitely be blessed by what your intentions are and what your actions are. I think we have
Just one point, Dr. Aslam,
yeah,
that
yes.
I have lived here in this country. This is 40th year, 40 years. And so far, I have not accrued any interest in my bank account. In the cities that I live, whether it was Philadelphia or Macomb, Illinois, or Chicago, I went to the bank manager. I said, look, I want to open a checking account that does not bear interest. If a bank does not have that type of provision, I went to another bank. I always found a bank where I can put my money into a checking account that does not bear interest. But unfortunately, a lot of Muslims, they purposely go and open a saving account where they know that it accrues interest. And then they make a miskeen sort of face and ask, what can I do with this money? Hoping that some mufti will say, go and make halwa and eat it yourself.
I'm glad that you brought up that particular kind of issue. I think it's what is clear from the perspective of the divine guidance. And definitely, if we are making a mistake, if we are taking a wrong turn, then we should acknowledge it at least and seek repentance and forgiveness from God Almighty. But I think the option that if the interest is coming without your intentions, then you can withdraw it and give it to a charitable cause without expecting any reward, and leave it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to decide and determine in what categories he would put it. So with that, we would bring this discussion of today to a closure. We still have a date with you, inshallah, and we will be back again with you discussing some more verses of the Quran. And once again, thank you very much to all of you for joining IslamiCity for this series on the Quranic values and divine values for building a strong character. And then finally, you mentioned about the charity. So I would request the listeners not to forget IslamiCity, you know, as a group, as an organization, as a service to Islamic work that also deserves your charitable donation for a good cause. So please donate generously. You can generate through the website. You can send the check. You can pay by credit card, whatever you prefer. But please remember IslamiCity in your charitable donations. With that, thank you very much once again, Dr. Siddiqi, and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.